TK, Tony Khan, giving wrestlers hugs, and he might be on drugs. Going TK, Tony Khan is here. So, guys, that's a reference to Toontown Wrestling, and they always have some really funny stuff on there. They like to have fun with Tony Khan, because Tony Khan is a habitual line stepper, just like Rick James. But I just wanted to talk to you guys about AEW All Out. And the thing about AEW All Out is that this has to be a show that accomplishes a couple of things. And one of the big things that I want to see from AEW is that this honestly needs to be, a start of a new season. That honestly, the year ends with All Out. Pardon me, there's neighbors that are idiots outside. The year ends with All In at Wembley Stadium next year in Texas. Your big show of the year, and All Out is kind of like your Genesis show. You need to restart the year. Which wrestlers are you going to take from ROH and Collision and make a big deal? Which wrestlers can become a bigger deal? And you need to incorporate that. And if you don't do that, then honestly, you're just running your circles. So I'm going to give you guys a bunch of matches that I want for the AEW card. And then also, I will include the matches that they have already. There's actually 6 matches. But I'm going to start with the new stuff, just because you don't want to hear a repeat. So Jon Moxley versus Darby Allin. The thing is that they are going in that direction. And definitely, win or lose, this actually, is okay, really. If you have Jon Moxley win and Darby Allin lose, it gives you some doubt about Grand Slam. You can have Darby Allin lose again to Bryan Danielson, or you can actually have Darby Allin win that situation. The other thing that's a little concerning is we don't know what's going to happen with Jack Perry versus Bryan Danielson. Jack Perry can cheat, or what could happen is Bryan Danielson can fight Hellacious Battle. Christian cashes in his opportunity. He becomes the AEW champion, and then you have Christian versus Darby Allin at Grand Slam. And I think a lot more people would tolerate a Darby Allin title reign if that was the case, really. I think, and then you can have Bryan Danielson say something like, "Oh well, you know what? I'm going to not retire because I lost to a bitch." So that could all happen, really. But I think with Jon Moxley versus Darby Allin, that's going to happen. I don't want to see them have a hardcore match because they have a couple of hardcore matches on this card. It's just a little repetitive. And I think if you want to make Darby Allin a champion, he has to understand that he has to wrestle all match types. And you cannot just wrestle bloody hardcore matches or through the table matches types of things. You have to wrestle diversity of styles, just like Swerve Strickland. He does death matches and violent matches very well, but if he always did that, he should be working for Combat Zone Wrestling, So I think this would be a good match. This should be a regular match. And I think whoever wins or loses, that's not going to, it's not going to hurt either one, really. But I think that Jon Moxley should win just because you want to build some momentum with a new faction. Don't do what you do with AEW where you have a bunch of factions that get started and then they fizzle out because you get them too many losses. So I think that Jon Moxley should win it. And I think this would be a really great match. This is like a match to kind of warm up Darby Allin for a championship shot. And there's talks about him becoming the next AEW champion. The next match I want to see is the Grizzled Young Veterans versus FTR. They are setting this up, really. The other thing is that many people have talked about is that with the AEW tag team division, it's went down the tubes, really. And I actually will say that one of the worst matches on the Wembley show was the Acclaimed versus FTR versus the Young Bucks. So you really need some more teams in this. And the way I would do this is that I'll have the Grizzled Young Veterans win. And the reason why I need to do that is you need to kind of establish them as a tag team. And then the next match I would have is Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara versus the Young Bucks. Winner takes all. The reason why I want to do this is because I want to set up Dustin Rhodes to become the either the AEW champion or the ROH World Champion. I think the ROH World Champion is a better title for him just because that has more of a lineage. CM Punk Cody Rhodes and a few other people held that title, and then he can hold up the ROH show. Really, if they want to do more Texas shows, so I think that's a good title. But you kind of need to have him go on a journey of wanting it all, being hungry for wins, for titles and everything like that. Really, so I think that would really fit his character. So I want to see Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara versus the Young Bucks. And then the other good thing that this accomplishes is that you're saying that you're reinventing the tag team division. There's a trios division, there's a tag team division. And then what I would do is that I would have Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara and the Young Bucks. And what would happen is that at the end of the match, it looks like Dustin's about to win. It looks like the Young Bucks about to win. It's 50-50. You have the grizzled young veterans come down. You have them beat both sides, really. And then what happens is that you have Don Callis with Takeshita and Kyle Fletcher just come down, and they actually help the Young Bucks, and then they beat down on the grizzled young veterans, and then you have FDR angry the grizzled young veterans, and then what you do is you have a private party kind of get involved, and you have a few other tag teams, and even the Acclaim get involved. You have this huge riot of tag team wrestlers, and then what I would do is that you kind of Tony Khan tells everybody to disperse, and there's a tournament of tag teams for a tag team shot at Wrestle Dream, and that's what I would do. And the reason why I want to do this is that this way you reset the whole tag team division, and that's what they need to kind of really show in AEW. You need to reset all the tag team. You need to reset the tag team titles, and the reason why you do that is because what they're doing with the Young Bucks is not working. Them holding up the titles, rarely defending it. They're known for matches. They're not known for speaking on the microphone. So you really need to kind of make them more competitive for their titles. The next thing that I would want to do is that you could even have something like Okada and and Jack Perry become a tag team, maybe in the future as well, really. But you have to kind of do something where you have to create more tag teams and establish to everybody that, okay, you can have the Undisputed Kingdom in this, because the Undisputed Kingdom, they need to graduate to the main roster. You can have the Don Callis family actually do something, try to accomplish something like tag team titles. You can actually have FTR, who's not a trios team, be involved in this. You actually can have the Acclaimed actually have some other people that they're hungry for. So that way you're making a big schmoz to everybody that there's at least 8 teams or 9 teams of people that want the tag team titles. You want to reset the division, and then you also need to graduate Top Flight and Private Party, because they actually have to be doing something. Top Flight, Private Party, I think the Infantry they call it. The Captain Sean Dean. You have to kind of have all these people, and it could be kind of a crazy thing, but the point of all that is that you kind of create a situation where you're telling everybody that, okay, we're resetting the tag team division, it's going to be competitive, those titles are going to mean something. And then also, when you take the Undisputed Kingdom and a few other people out of ROH, or have them wanting to do double duty because they believe in themselves that much, that's good, because you're saying that, you're not in ROH hell, you're not just... You have to be graduated to the AEW Dynamite and Collision show, because if you don't do that, it's almost like people who want to live in NXT. You have to treat ROH like your NXT brand. So that's why I would do something like that. That will be my ending. The next match I want to have is Mariah May versus Toni Storm. The reason why I want to do this is because obviously you cannot do something like have Sasha Banks have a match. And nothing else really. The problem is that then you're saying that your secondary title is more important than your main title. It would just be like Gunter it was the Intercontinental Champ. Imagine if he was having matches like with a 1980s Ric Flair, or if he was having matches with Ricky the Dragon Steeple in his prime, or he was having a match with AJ Styles in his prime, or other wrestlers. And then you have Roman not defend his title for a couple of months, really. It would make the Intercontinental title feel more prestigious. You can't do that with the Women's AEW Championship. So what I would do is just have Mariah May versus Toni Storm one more time. And then that would be a really good match. They go on for 15, 20 minutes, and that's the end of it. And then Toni Storm loses. She goes in her own direction. Mariah May holds the title for a while in her direction. And then this is a good blow-off. So just do it one more time, and that'd be that, really. And then also, too, as I said, you need this match because you have to show that the Women's Championship is the most important title in that company in the women's division. You cannot do something like make it the TBS title unless you do something where it's winner takes all, and then you have, and then you have Sasha Banks say, okay, since I have both titles, I want to give up my TBS title just because I don't want it anymore. This is better gold type of thing. You have to kind of do that, really. You have to kind of you have to make Sasha Banks the AEW women's champion somehow, or you have to make the AEW Women's Championship the title that's the biggest deal, really. Because you can't just have Sasha Banks be the most prominent woman in the women's division and have her have all the great matches and the great feuds. You have to kind of expand that. So Toni Storm versus Mariah May, you can set that up and do it one more time. The Chicago crowd will love it. Okada versus Ricochet for the Continental Championship. The reason why I do this is that Ricochet is a new wrestler to the AEW roster. Okada has not been showing his full potential. I think he's a little lost in the AEW tag team in the EVP feud. So you need to kind of have Okada have a great match and have very New Japan wrestling style match. So he and Ricochet can work on something together, make something great, make something stand out. And I think that would actually be great for Okada. And then you kind of see, okay, maybe what should Okada be doing? Should Okada be in group matches with the EVPs and Jack Perry, or should he be I'm doing my own thing while I'm in this group, really, type of thing. And I think that would be the best thing. You have to kind of see what you can do with Okada, and I think that would be a good reset. If Ricochet loses this match, no problem. Or if you have a time limit type of thing, right? I think you should do a time limit, 30-minute time limit, and that's how I do it. You have them have a match. This way Ricochet doesn't lose. But if you have Ricochet lose, no problem. You can build him up something. You can build up stronger to another title or international title at Wrestle Dream. But this is good to see what Okada can do, and if he's better as a single star, you need to keep him that way. Because I think that's because he needs a reset button, and also you cannot be holding a title and being the main villain faction and not really defend it, really. So you can see what he does with this. The next match that I'll have is Kyle Fletcher versus Hologram. There's a couple of things I want to say about this. That Hologram is doing a great job in Collision. People like him. You cannot do something like not have him progress himself. And the other issue is that you don't have any luchadors progressing themselves. So it does create that situation of, okay, what's a luchador? It's a Hispanic wrestler that can't talk and they do flips. You have to kind of create a storyline with this. You have to kind of make Hologram hungry for a title. What if Tony Khan says something like, I got a surprise for you, Hologram. I really believe in you. You're my new favorite wrestler. And he's holding it. And you see Tony Khan just maybe a little kid, maybe having this hologram toy. Or maybe have Tony Khan just come out with glasses and hologram type of glowing gear because he's rich and all that. So you kind of have him be a little bit of a mark for him. But he says you know what? I see this potential new hologram. I think you should have a match at All Out to show what you can do, really. And then what happens is that Kyle Fletcher and Don Callis comes out and they just challenge Hologram to a match, and then you have Kyle Fletcher versus Hologram. They're great flippy wrestlers. Kyle Fletcher and Kyle O'Reilly have been impressing me, but this way you're doing something that you need to do. You need to create new stars. So if you want Hologram to be a big deal, have Hologram have a match at All Out, and then have Kyle Fletcher have a match on All Out. Don't treat him like Team Rocket. He's just there to be in a group, and there's no up and down, really. He's just there to lose when he's supposed to lose. He's there to win when he's supposed to win. So I think that would be a really great match, for AEW, for this show. You need to create new stars. The next match that I'll have is Saraya versus Leela Hirsch. The winner of this match gets a AEW women's title opportunity at Grand Slam in New York City. And the reason why you do this is because Saraya's been talking a lot of crap about AEW. She's talking crap at the media scrum. So you have to kind of give her a story, give her something she wants to fight her way to the top, really. So, that way you kind of create a consistency, do something with that energy, really. And then Layla Hirsch, like I've said, she had a great street fight match and Ring of Honor, and you can kind of set her up as this person that wants to grind, wants to work hard, and be that bad bitch who wants to work her way to the top. And she's also talked about how she doesn't like Mercedes Moné, and she doesn't like Mariah May for being these bitches who one's a princess and one's just a crazy bitch, really, a psycho bitch, type of thing, really, abused her mother figure. So you have this little Hirsch being you know what, I want to be that button down, serious, athletic, bad bitch to the top, really. That's what you can do with Layla Hirsch, set her up like that. And then you have like Saraya saying something like she's been in the company for a long time. You know what? She didn't get a match on the card. She deserves this. She deserves this. Saraya deserves this. Saraya deserves this. You know what? The boss acts like a queen. I'm gonna act like a empress. You know, or the boss acts like a queen. I'm gonna act like the Virgin Mary. You know, type of thing, really. You know, I'm entitled like the Virgin Mary. Everybody should look at me as a goddess. Or she should say something like, you know what, Sasha Banks is the queen. I'm going to act like a goddess, you know, like the next step up or something like that. And that's really good. Then you have Layla Hirsch just saying, you know what, I've been grinding through AEW. I want the recognition. And, you know, let's have a match. And they just have a match at them All Out. This is good. You take Layla Hirsch, you graduate her from ROH to the AEW Dynamite roster. You have Saraya, somebody who is a name, actually get a match, because you got to have people who have names. This would be, you know, really awesome. And then the other thing too is that you can't have Thunder Rosa, Queen Aminata, and another woman that wrestled this weekend, because if they all lost and then Hikaru Shida won, it doesn't make sense for one of those three beautiful ladies to have a match at All Out. That makes no sense, really. You know, that makes no sense. You gotta have somebody who didn't win. I mean, you gotta have somebody who did not compete actually compete, because that wouldn't make sense to have a loser compete with the AEW Women's Champion. So those are my matches that I would add to the card. Now I'm going to talk about the other matches that they have on the card as well. Jack Perry versus Bryan Danielson. For me, that's a great match. Jack Perry has so much heat in Chicago. Great heel versus babyface. I expect Jack Perry to cheat and be an asshole during this match. The big thing, he can do a glass spot or put Bryan Danielson through glass. Please do that, and that's all you need to do. And then everything else, don't do any more CM Punk references or Cry Me a River. Just have your match, have the glass spot, and then do other shit with Bryan Danielson. And that's how, and have him cheat or whatever type of thing, really. But Bryan Danielson needs to win. You can do two things. If Bryan Danielson really needs the surgery and needs to be out, have Christian cash in, and you do something where it's Jack Perry, Christian, and Luchasaurus are aligned. This is Jurassic Express 2.0, and then you have the Young Bucks come out, and you have Mama Wayne and Nick Wayne, and you form the super faction of the EVPs and the Patriarch. You can do that if Bryan Danielson can't be the champion that much longer, but he comes back and says, you know what, I want to lose to somebody who has honor. I want to regain this title and beat somebody who has honor. Like that you can set up. That would work. But I would say you can go down that route. I think that would be more interesting. But if you don't go down that route, Bryan Danielson needs to be Jack Perry. There's no way that Jack Perry should be Bryan Danielson clean. That would just be beyond stupid. Will Ospreay versus Pac. It would be better if Pac wins. It would surprise people. But Will Ospreay needs to win this, because he can't be hot potatoing the title. So you have Will Ospreay win this. And then what I would kind of set up is Pac and Claudio and Wheeler Yuta to have a lot of matches in the trios division, and eventually you set up something where you have Pac versus Bryan Danielson for the AEW Championship in the future, because I do think that would be kind of a good, like, you know what, you're my friend but you're my enemy. Are you my friend or foe type of thing. That'd be really great. Mercedes Moné versus Hikaru Shida. A lot of people like Shida. I'm not really a fan of her work. I don't remember one promo that she's done, so it's a waste of a match. But then you have Mercedes Moné, and obviously Mercedes Moné, she's a draw. She has to have a match on the card. MJF versus Danny Garcia. I really, really think that this is a hard match for me. I think Danny Garcia should lose, but MJF should do some bullshit to have him lose. And then you have a rematch where you have it in a steel cage, or you have it be this really bloody, chaotic match at like Wrestle Dream or Full Gear, like have like a Texas Death Match. The one problem with Wrestle Dream is that it's like Forbidden Door. It's another show where they wrestle Japanese wrestlers. And I do think that you can't just have too many of these, like, company versus company shows. But I do think that one thing you can do with Daniel Garcia versus MJF is you can do the exploding barbed wire death match. You can have a very violent Japanese style match, or Japanese hardcore match, but do that at Wrestle Dream, because you can't have them do that at this show because that's too much. But I would say MJF needs to lose. No, MJF needs to win. He needs to win, and he needs to win here, but Dan Garcia needs to get his comeuppance, make Daniel Garcia a new star. Will Nightingale versus Chris Statlander. Whoever wins, it should be Will Nightingale, but Will Nightingale needs to say something like, you know what, I need to go after the women's title. Like, she needs to have a match with Mariah May in the future. You need to set up Will Nightingale as the next women's champion, because the problem is that she cannot be wrestling Chris Statlander over and over. Just like with Hangman Adam Page and Sports Strickland, which I'm going to talk to next, you have to just stop it. Because the problem is it's too repetitive. It becomes John Cena and Randy Orton. It becomes Tom versus Tom and Jerry. It becomes, Ash Ketchum versus Team Rocket. You got to stop it. It's too much. It's too repetitive. Swerve Strickland versus Adam Page. A steel cage match, as I've said. Great that they're doing it. I'm actually happy they're doing a steel cage match because they can easily do a hardcore, crazy ass type of match, really. But the problem is that steel cage matches, you don't really. Steel cage matches are good because what happens is that there's some violence in it, but it's not as violent as a, table ladders and chairs match or a Texas death match. It's a level of violence, but not too much, really. Because the problem is that if you make it overly violent, it becomes a little repetitive. Because these people they've been violent before. Locked them in a cage, have them settle it. That's going to be the end of it. And then what I hope from this is two things. That I think Swerve can lose this match because you can't have Adam Page keep losing to Swerve because it gets repetitive. Swerve can take a bit of a break. He can come back and he can feud with other people. Like, I think that Swerve is good, but, have him off the show until, Wrestle Dream. Give him a bit of a break, really. But I do think the reason why you do that is because Adam Page can't be losing all the time, He needs to actually have a victory. I think if it Swerve win, then it's like, what the fuck are you doing with Adam Page? And then the other issue is that it seems like the only thing you can do is have him go after Swerve again, and then, you've been doing this for over a year. This shit has to, they have, for over a year, this shit needs to be wrapped up, really. So that's how I feel with this. I think that it's a really great show. There's a lot of things that they can do to make this show, feel like a big pay-per-view. And that's what they need to do. Because otherwise it's going to be like, this is the last time they're going to have All Out be back-to-back with Wembley Stadium. But you have to treat it like you give a shit about this show. And I think this is all great because the big thing about this is that you're building new stars. You're having some matches that can be feuds that you can have on Dynamite and Collision and Rampage this week. And then it leads into the show, and some of these are pre-established feuds and everything like that. And then, so it doesn't take that much of a build because you already established people over a longer period of time. The other thing too is that you're also fixing some problems. You're resetting the tag team division. You're making new stars in Hologram, Daniel Garcia, Leela Hirsch, Dustin Rhodes, and Sammy Guevara, and a couple other people as well, because you need to graduate people from Collision and ROH onto the main roster. You're making grizzled young veterans a bigger deal with this card. And then also the other big thing too is that you are actually having another women's match. That would be a big deal because you can't have something where Mercedes Moné is the big deal. You don't have the Intercontinental Championship meaning more than the WWE Championship. You don't have the AEW Women's Championship. You don't have the TBS Championship meaning more than the AEW World Championship. And this is all I got to say. I think it's a really great card. Definitely my idea is a great booster shot. And hopefully, Tony will listen to this. TK. Tony Khan is here giving wrestlers hugs and he might be on drugs. Go TK. Tony Khan is here giving wrestlers hugs and he might be on drugs. So you guys, check out my channel. Please like, share, and subscribe. And also like, share, and subscribe to Toontown Wrestling. They're always really funny. Even though they're Marvin the Movie Monster, he looks like an orange version of Oscar the Grouch. Not a complaint, but he's funny as hell. Just like OTRS Central with his Jeff Jarrett rants.